All right, well, today we're going to start in chapter 22, and we're just going to look at verse 1 again today. We kind of ended with this last week. Did anybody get to do any homework on it and find out if they had an understanding of where this is going?
You know I didn't.
Okay.
I don't know why you look at it.
All right. If a man steals an ox or a sheep and kills it or sells it, he shall pay 5 ox for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. So we kind of went through this last week and we decided, an ox is either a leader or clean like Israel, or, the sheep. Here's something that's different that I kind of picked up on is the sheep is different than what we were dealing with earlier, an ox or donkey. Okay, well, if you put ox and sheep together, what do these typify? Okay, ox can be a leader, so that can be a priest, a king, or it can be Christ, right? Okay, well, what about sheep? What do they picture?
We are sheep.
We are sheep followers. Okay, something else that I'm kind of picking up on is lamb.
Is what?
A sheep is a lamb. Well, who's the
Yeah.
lamb?
Jesus.
Okay, so then it says if man steals and kills or sells, does that typify Christ in any way? He was stolen from the Father and killed, wasn't he?
Well, he was killed, put on the cross and killed.
Put on the cross and killed. He was also sold for 30 pieces of silver. So I kind of wonder if that isn't picturing that. Well, since he's a leader, you're going to have a higher penalty for that. And here's what I think this is probably trying to bring out here. If a man steals an ox or a sheep, Jesus was the ox. He was also the lamb, the sheep. Okay. The sheep can also be followers. So if you take one of the followers of, an ox, which could be a priest or whatever, but if you pull one of those out and you kill them or sell them or whatever, you steal them. Okay. And if you remember that Jesus Christ typifies, an ox, he also typifies a lamb that was stolen from the Father and killed by man. Okay. An ox is a servant that provides flesh and meat that you can eat. And sheep provide a covering, don't they? The wool. So those both kind of tie into Christ, him being the flesh that you can eat and also the covering. Okay, now this guy that steals this owes 5 ox and 4 sheep. And I think 5 is the number of grace and 4 is the worldly number. Christ did that, gave the world grace, didn't he? But this guy can't pay it, so he's going to have to rely on somebody else that can pay it because his price is like 5-fold for one and 4-fold for the other one. So I kind of wonder if this somehow isn't picturing how God, Jesus, is the one that's providing this redemption for people even though we can't pay. Anybody else got any other ideas on that one? Okay. Well, let's go to the next 2 then. If a thief is found breaking in and is struck so that he dies, there shall be no blood guilt for him. But if the sun has risen on him, there shall be blood guilt for him. He shall surely pay. It has nothing. If he has nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. So what do you guys see in this?
Why would be a difference between night and day? Night you can't see who the thief is, but daytime you can identify.
That's right. That's exactly where this is going. If you can see, then you know who it is. Why do you think God's showing you that there's a difference between striking someone breaking into your house, burglary at night and day?
Could it be something like if somebody commits a sin and knows it's a sin, it's different from when they just commit a sin, but they didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So if they broke in of a night, they would know they was doing it.
Yeah, you know this thief is no good. I
Uh-huh.
mean, you're gonna strike him with whatever,
Right.
stick or staff or club or.
Okay. Okay, so if someone breaks in the dark, you can't see, you don't know really what his motives is, it's in the dark. He's obviously there and shouldn't be, but you're trying to protect your family, right? Okay, so if you strike him and he dies, there shall be no blood guilt for him. What is blood guilt for him mean? And you guys might be thinking one direction, and I had to start thinking the other direction to understand this. What does it mean that there shall be no blood guilt for him?
Well-
That the person that killed him won't have to die.
Right.
Won't have to pay.
Right. By who? Who's the one that's supposed to come after the one that
The
shit?
relative?
Huh?
The relative?
The relative.
Kinsman Redeemer.
The kinsman redeemer, the avenger of blood. Good job, because I had to think about that before I picked that up, and you guys went running with it. All right, so if a thief is breaking in and instructs so that he dies, there shall be no blood guilt for him. Okay, so he's not going to have the avenger of blood coming after you because he broke in, and
He won't pay
yeah,
at the end of his life.
yeah, the guy that killed him
Yeah.
won't. Otherwise, technically, he would have to be running to the next sanctuary city, right, and plead his case.
Right.
He may get killed if he's guilty, okay? So, the guy that kills the guy breaking in won't have to worry about the avenger of blood. But if the sun is risen on him, there shall be blood guilt for him. He shall surely pay. If he has nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. Now, this kind of, if you take he shall surely pay and you put it right after, but if the sun has risen on him, and you understand it better. Okay, but if the sun has risen on him and he ends up getting killed, there shall be blood guilt for him. Why do you think the guy, if he's breaking in during the day and the guy ends up killing him in the sun, when the sun's up, that he's gonna face judgment of murder? Why do you think that is?
Because just the shallow thinking, because he can identify him and have the authorities take care of this matter.
Yes, that is exactly right. So don't discount yourself on having small thoughts,
Well,
because the stuff I'm bringing to you a lot of times is small thoughts. I'm trying to see what you guys are going to show me, so I can learn from you guys.
I'm just not seeing Jesus in this, right? That's all.
Okay, all right. And I'll tell you what, all of these things we're going to be going through in the last chapter we just went through, and these next, I think, 2 anyway, are just 1 and 2 verse understandings. And a lot of these, I don't know what they mean quite yet. I just don't have enough information to put the pieces together, but it's all going to picture Christ somehow. Whether we can see it right now or not, I don't. Some of these we're going to go through, you're going to see them. I think you guys are going to work them all out just like you are here. Okay, so if the sun has risen on him, this guy can see, and he can let him steal something that can be replaced, and then go report to the authorities, and then this guy will be in trouble, and he'll have to repay, and you'll get a new whatever. Okay, so that's why. But if you know who it is, and you go ahead and kill him anyway for something that is monetary, that can be replaced, it's not a life. The guy's trying to kill your family member, that's a different story. You're protecting life. We got those rules today. You can't see somebody stealing your lawnmower or your car and just shoot him. Okay, that car can be replaced, the lawnmower can be replaced, but if they're breaking into your house and trying to harm your family or whatever, that's a different story. You're protecting life. And there are people that have gotten in trouble for that. Saw somebody stealing their lawnmower out of their shed, and they shot them, and they're the ones in trouble. Okay, so I think it's got a lot to do with that. Now we're thinking the physical understanding here on earth right now and all this stuff, but there's got to be a spiritual understanding in this that God's trying to show us here about there, right? Okay. It says that if the sun is risen on him, there shall be blood guilt. So if you can see him and who it is, then you are going to be guilty of blood guilt if you kill him. But it says that he shall surely pay. Look, if the guy's breaking in and he stole, the guy's surely going to pay. And if he doesn't have anything, then he's going to be sold for theft. So he's going to have to go to be sold so he can pay off his debt. Well, if this is a Jew, what's going to happen? We just saw this in previous chapters. If he's an Israelite, he's going to serve 6 years max. And then he's going to be set free. If this was a Gentile breaking in, guess what happens? He can serve the master for life, because he's now a slave or a servant to the next master. Typically, he can be there for life, not a set time, because the Gentiles didn't have that rule. All right. So what is the spiritual picture in this?
If you ask the Lord to forgive you of all your sins, then He's got you covered.
Okay. All right. Well, we've kind of stolen from God, haven't we? And we're in darkness.
Is there something in there with the word sunrise?
If the sun has risen on him, let's go to the Hebrew and find out.
Meaning S-O-N?
Oh, no, it would, okay. You're using the picture understanding. 22:3.
If it happens after the sunrise.
If has risen the sun. Thank you. See, this is why I appreciate you guys so much. Look at that. But if the sun has risen, who does the sun rising in the east picture? Christ. Okay, but if the sun has risen, there shall be blood guilt.
Talking before the sun arrived on earth and after the sun arrived on earth?
I think so.
That makes sense.
Okay. If, wow, it's got to be tied to that. Because usually when you use the word risen, always picture Christ. It's got something to do with that. And this is the sun, and typically the sun is pictured the S-O-N, sun, rising. So if you've got the sun rising after the sun has risen, it's got to be tied to that, before and after the cross. So before the cross, you're not going to have blood guilt, but after the cross, you will. So if you know and you still, how's this working out?
Well, if you
Because
know,
this guy would know and see, if he can clearly see, his eyes can see. After the cross, our eyes can see. Before the cross, they're veiled until you come to Christ.
you're in darkness.
You're in darkness, yes. Why I couldn't pick this up on my own, I don't know, but thank you. But this is where that's going. If we can wrestle that out and hammer this out and just think about it and process it, that is what's going on. If you are before the cross, you're not going to have blood guilt if you kill a man that's stealing, burglary, I don't know how that's relating to Christ. It's there. We just are on the edge of it. I just can't process it right now.
If you haven't turned your life over to Christ,
Yes,
you're in the darkness.
you're in darkness.
And when you turn your life over to Christ, you're in the sunrise and you know difference and you have to pay for it.
Yes, I believe that is where this is lining up. Okay, so maybe the person's house isn't necessarily someone here on earth, maybe it's God's house. Maybe we're the ones that broke in and stole from God. And if it was before the cross, or if you're before the cross, you're going to have blood guilt on your own head. You're going to have to pay. But if it's afterwards, when you can see what you're doing, and you know.
How about this? When you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior, all the sins that you committed before that are gone. But after that, then you have to go back to Jesus and ask for forgiveness.
And make restitution. But he's the one that made restitution. Yeah, ask for forgiveness, but he's the one that pays.
Right.
And that's where that 5 and 4 comes in. It's showing you something with that. 5 is grace, 4 is world. God is going to make redemption of the world through grace somehow in this picture that he's given us.
But after your salvation, then you really know what you're doing. You're understanding what you're doing, and you do something wrong deliberately, then you need to repent.
Yes.
Not that he didn't forgive you or he won't forgive you, but you have to recognize it.
That's right. And you're going to have to pay, and it's going to be a debt so high you can't pay. 5-fold and 4-fold's pretty high. But God's going to make the payment for you if you go back and ask for forgiveness. Okay, well, I'm convinced that's where that's going now. I wasn't before, but now I'm convinced that this is a before and after the cross understanding.
It's like walking down the road and come to a fork. You don't ask for forgiveness and you take the left fork. You ask for forgiveness, you take the right fork.
Okay, so one heads off into the dark forest of where's the black forest, and the other one ends up in. All right, very good. Wow. Okay. Well, I like that one. Okay, let's go to 4. If the stolen beast is found alive in his possession, whether it's an ox or a donkey or a sheep, he shall pay double. And that word, that first part is, if the found in hand the thief. Okay, so now you know why we need a translator to help us understand that. It basically is telling you if he's caught red-handed, okay? If the guy is caught and he's actually in possession of the ox, donkey, or sheep, he's going to pay double. Okay, what's the difference between why did he have to pay 4 or 5 times earlier, but now he's only going to pay twice as much?
Well,
The first one he's sold or killed. This one he's caught with it in his hand. It's still alive. So he's going to pay double if he still has it and it's still alive, but if it's sold or killed, he's going to pay 4 or 5 times.
Maybe because the original owner could get it back.
Okay,
Before that, he couldn't because it was either sold or dead.
okay. So the original owner can get it back if it's still alive.
That's called a total loss.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. So and guess what? This guy stole, and not only is he going to return what he stole, but he's going to pay for that item that he stole double, because he's trying to steal from someone else and make a profit, whereas this person is out now, so this guy has to pay double. He's got to pay the penalty for what he was going to make someone else receive. That makes sense? He was going to benefit from somebody else, so he's going to have to pay what he thought he was going to get by someone else's demise.
So by his actions, he hurt two people. So he's gonna have to pay double.
Well, he hurt himself or his family, but he hurt the person that he stole, because now that person doesn't have what they were rightfully owed. Okay. So not only is he going to have to give back what he's got in his hand, he's also going to have to give an additional for what he tried to do, right? All right.
The word sheep still is in that paragraph too.
Donkey or sheep.
Yeah, you got ox, donkey, or sheep.
Donkey or sheep.
Okay.
Equal value. Equal
Yeah.
value in that context.
Okay, yeah. He should pay double, a sheep for a sheep, or an ox for an ox, or donkey for a donkey. And typically we can say that these are typological pictures of clean animals. Jewish people, donkeys, Gentiles, and sheep are followers. They're not necessarily leaders. Like oxen would be considered a leader, a priest or a king, whereas sheep would be the followers, the students. Okay. Anything else before we move on to the next verse? 5, if a man causes a field or vineyard to be grazed over, or lets his beast loose and it feeds in another man's field, he shall make restitution from the beast in its own field and in his own vineyard.
There again, somebody's taking away something that belonged to somebody else.
Yeah. He's letting his property benefit off of somebody else.
And for restitution, he's got to pay back.
Okay. What is he gonna have to pay back in this case?
From his own field
The best
and vineyard.
from his own field. Not the worst.
Yeah, the best.
Okay. Here's something that I see also in this. It says if a man causes or lets. So this is implying that he had knowledge that this would or was happening. And just something that happened where the thing broke down the fence and it went across. It says when a man causes or lets.
So basically here, the guy that owns the sheep or the animal, he's letting them go in the other neighbor's yard to graze and eat everything there so that he can still keep his own stuff.
That's right. Okay. This man here is over here growing crops trying to feed his family. He's letting his animals come over and eat from him that God is trying to keep him alive with and bless him with, while you keep your best. Yeah. So
But if the man that's letting this sheep or ox or whatever it is going to the neighbor's yard, he didn't have control or he didn't want to have control over his livestock.
Yeah.
So therefore he's guilty of letting it go.
Mhm.
That's like the man that had the pit and donkey falls into it. He didn't cover it up.
Okay.
If sheep goes across to the neighbor's yard and he didn't try to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna have to make restitution for that.
So
Okay.
he's causing his neighbor to be responsible for feeding his sheep.
Yes. There's something here right on the edge and it's just about ready to click, but I can't make it click right now. He shall make I wonder if this isn't a picture somehow of God making the restitution from the best of his field and vineyard, which is Christ. Okay, anybody else got anything else on that one? It's one of those things we're just gonna have to meditate on and see if we can't pull it out. All right, verse 6. If fire breaks out and catches in thorns, so that the stacked grain or the standing grain or the field is consumed, he who started the fire shall make full restitution. And when you go and you look this up on Bible Hub, you can get all of the different word breakdowns. Okay, fire is esh. Yatsah means break out, spreads. Vematzah and catches or acquires. And kodzim is thorns. Remember all the way back in Genesis 3, what happened there? Adam's sin brought thorns. So here the fire breaks out and catches thorns. The fire will burn the thorns up, right?
Right. So
How could there be thorns around the stacks of grain? I don't,
That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Well, what if there are thorns around the stacked grain?
wouldn't a person be classified as a thorn if he's not with Christ?
Wouldn't he be considered a thorn if he's not what?
If he's not in Christ?
I don't think he'd be considered a thorn, but I think the thorns would be poking him and be a problem for him, just like, Adam. He's going to have a hard time now, harder than he did before when he was living in paradise, peace. Now you're going to have to work, you're going to have problems, they're going to scratch you, they're going to poke you. These are typical,
Thorn would have to be in some way related to sin.
Yeah, you're right.
you what?
Related to a sin.
Okay.
You got it there. You could do good with it, or you could do it sinful thing with
Okay,
it. Maybe, I don't know.
okay.
Temptation or sin or something like that.
Okay. Well, Paul said, please take his thorn from the flesh from me. So he was afflicted with something somehow. There's speculation on what that was. So these are things that are poking you that are a problem. So that the stacked grain or standing grain in the field is consumed. What do you guys see with the stacked grain and standing grain? What's the difference?
Went through the harvest.
Okay, stacked grain is harvested, standing grain is still standing. Could this be pointing to people that have already been harvested versus people that are not? Could this be people that are dead and others that are not? Okay, he started the fire shall make restitution. Well, I'm kind of leaning towards who's going to start the fire in the future that flooded the world in the past. Now it's going to happen in fire. He shall make full restitution. And full restitution is shalom ve-shalem. Peace and peace. Okay, and peace has the understanding of make whole. Okay, when Jewish people say shalom, they're not saying hi. They're saying may God make you whole and restore you today. It's deeper than what we understand. So, he who caused, look at this. He who kindled Hamidbar Mabir et Aleph Tav, the fire. Ha-ha-ber-ra. Now see, this fire is different than the fire that's up above, Esh. This is a different fire, Ha-ber-ra. Who's going to... That's interesting that the Aleph Tav is right before the word fire, and that's why my mind is kind of going towards what's going to happen in the future, the judgment that's coming.
Would that be something to do with God's covenant? I'll protect you, but you turn me to send fire. Started it. I don't know.
And could that be why there's a harvested grain and an unharvested grain there? That's interesting. So you can kind of see where that's kind of leaning that way, even though I can't pull out all the details yet. So you guys, when you read these on your own later, maybe something will click and you'll be able to, God will make something happen. I mean, that's what happens to me a lot of times. I go back and I meditate on this stuff, and then I got to walk away and just get a fresh mind and come back, and then things will start. Boom, that's it right there. You'll see something and it'll just click, and that's it. So that's what we're going to have to do with a lot of these. But they're all portraying Christ in some way. All right, verse 7. If a man gives to his neighbor money or goods to keep safe, and it is stolen from a man's house, then if the thief is found, he shall pay double. Are there any stories that come to mind on this one? If a man gives to his neighbor money or goods to keep safe, I'm kind of thinking the parable about God, saying the master, gave you a talent, and he's given 3 different scenarios there. This guy went out and gained an increase. This guy went out and got an increase, and this guy just hid it so that he can give back what he was given rather than get an increase on it. Okay, but this one here is, and it is stolen from the man's house. Then if the thief is found, he shall pay double. Could that be picturing Christ somehow? God gave us Christ, and they come, and he was stolen. I don't know. That's one of those ones we'll probably have to think on, right? All right. Verse 8, if the thief is not found, the owner of the house shall come near to God to show whether or not he has put his hand to his neighbor's property. Okay, and it says that he shall come near to Elohim, and Elohim can be translated two different ways. Anybody know what the two words that are typically used for Elohim is?
Well, one says judges.
Okay, that's one. The other one is God. So mine says God, yours says judges. It can be translated either way, and I think it fits in both contexts. But that may be why God is using that word to show us there's two different understandings, a spiritual and a physical. Whereas you shall come to the house and come to the judges as the physical, but in all actuality, God would be the spiritual word that we would put there. Whether or not he has put his hand to his neighbor's property. Okay.
It makes me think of the owner of the property taking the owner of the land taking the property of the other person and then telling him somebody stole it.
Yeah. It's- Don't wanna get rid of it.
Okay.
He dipped into the silver and said somebody else came in and got it.
Somebody else.
Trying to make an excuse for himself.
Make a thief. Make a
Okay.
thief that was no thief.
Okay. That's interesting. All right, verse 9. For every breach of trust, whether it is an ox or for a donkey, for a sheep, for a cloak, or for any kind of lost thing, of which one says, this is it, the case of both parties shall come before God. The one whom God condemns shall pay double to his neighbor. Okay, lost thing is abidah. Okay, and then this one is when one claims another took it, which is what you guys were just saying in one of the other verses. He denies it. Okay. The ox or donkey, whether it's an ox or a donkey, for every breach of trust, whether it's for an ox, for a donkey, for a sheep, for a cloak, of any kind of lost thing, of which one says this is it, the case of both parties shall come before God, and one whom God condemns shall pay double to his neighbor. And yours probably says Elohim, doesn't it? I mean, judges.
It says judges.
Okay. And that can be translated either way, physical and a spiritual understanding. Both parties shall come, and then the judges or the judge will be the one that condemns, and this person shall pay double. God is the one that knows all and sees all, doesn't he? Okay. He shall pay double. Now you're adding a cloak here. A cloak is a covering. So I wonder if God is progressively through these verses showing us he's adding something each time and showing us the progression of understanding here.
He's showing that the crime in some cases are very severe and others is not severe, but it's still got to be paid back.
That's true. Yep. Okay, let's go to 10 and 11. If a man gives to his neighbor a donkey or an ox or a sheep or any beast to keep safe, and it dies or is injured or driven away without anyone seeing it, an oath by the Lord shall be between them both to see whether or not he has put his hand to his neighbor's property. The owner shall accept the oath, and he shall not make restitution. Okay, Shavuot is oath. Shavuot is oath, and Lord is Jehovah. So this is kind of showing me you're dealing with an oath or a covenant, and that's why Jehovah is used. Jehovah is the covenant understanding of God. When you see the word Jehovah, think covenant, what he made in agreement with. When you see Elohim, it's usually the creator, all the way back in Genesis. Make an oath to the Lord. Okay, so the owner will have to accept the oath if he says he didn't do it. Okay.
The ox or donkey, whatever it may be, was put in his possession for safekeeping, but didn't say whether or not the ox or donkey was ailing and died after he put in the guy's possession for safekeeping.
Okay. So maybe that's it, maybe if a man gives to his neighbor an ox or a donkey or any beast to keep safe and it dies or is injured or is driven away without one seeing it. So if this guy is going to give one to a neighbor to be kept, if there's something wrong with it, you probably wouldn't accept it, or you at least say, hey man, you realize this thing's limping or whatever. Huh.
Had that happen in the family with a dog.
Oh, really?
I take care of my dog for me. And then the dog can't even walk. It's on my rugs because they're gone. And then the family member's mad that the dog died. Well,
Wow.
should have had that dog put down a long time ago. I don't know. It's awful.
So that you can relate to this one,
I
pretty.
can relate to it, yeah. On the top of it, I can see it. These animals die.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not in bad shape when you have somebody take over, but they still die.
Wonder if this can be talking about spiritual leaders. Ox or sheep. Sheep follow. You're given, like let's say a pastor is given a flock of sheep to take care of. And if they go astray, who's responsible? Huh?
That would make sense.
Okay.
But the owner that it's given to is responsible for keeping them corralled or in the same field. But if he lets one of them gets away and don't try to put it back, then he is responsible.
Yeah, so he's got to try to do what he can do, and that's where you shall come before, the judges and some of those other verses, and see whether, an oath by the Lord shall be between both of them to see whether or not he has put his hand to his neighbor's property. Did he try to keep it where it should be? Does a pastor try to keep his flock where they should be? He can't do that with all of them. They're all going to run. Some of them are going to run off, no matter what he says.
But again, on what we have been told, if one of us go astray, the Lord will come to find us and bring us back home.
Yeah, the Lord will do that.
You leave the 99 and go after the one.
Okay. The owner shall accept the oath, and he shall not make restitution. Okay, so if a pastor, if that's what this is showing, it said, man, I did what I can do, and this person's still bent on go in their direction, you know, he's not gonna have
Would
to.
that also kind of be referring to a group of Christians and one went astray?
Could be. If a man gives to his neighbor a donkey or an ox or a sheep or any beast to keep safe, and it dies or is injured or is driven away without anyone seeing it. Okay, this is saying that people don't really know what happened here. Why, and kind of like some of our preachers in the past that have done things that no one knew about until it came to the light, right? Huh. Okay. I think it's interesting here that in 1 Kings 2:36-46, I don't have a PowerPoint for it, I'm just going to read this because it's long, but this gives you the understanding of what it means to make an oath to the Lord. Then the king sent and summoned Shimei and said to him, "Build yourself a house in Jerusalem and dwell there, and do not go out from here to any place whatever. For on the day you go out, cross the brook Kidron, know for certain that you shall die. Your blood shall be on your own head." And Shimei said to the king, "What you say is good. As my lord the king said, your servant will do." So Shimei lived in Jerusalem many days, but it happened at the end of 3 years that Shimei's servants ran away, and Achish, son of Maacah, king of Gath, and when it was told to Shimei, "Both your servants are in Gath," Shimei rose, saddled a donkey, and went to Gath to Achish to seek his servants. Shimei went and brought his servants to Gath. And when Solomon was told that Shimei had gone from Jerusalem to Gath and returned, the king sent and summoned Shimei and said to him, "Did I not make you swear to the Lord and solemnly warn you, saying, know for certain that on the day you go out and go to any place whatever you shall die? And you said to me, what you say is good, I will obey. And when they have not kept why have you not kept your oath to the Lord?" Oath to the Lord, not to him, to the Lord. "And a commandment which I commanded you." The king also said to Shimei, "You know in your heart all the harm that you did to David my father, so the Lord will bring you back your harm on your own head, but King Solomon shall be blessed, and the throne of David shall be established before the Lord forever." Then the king commanded Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and he went out, struck him down, and so he died. So the king was established in the hand of Solomon. This obviously has got something to do that's coming up here shortly with the end times, I think, and how the king of Solomon will be standing forever. That's a picture of Christ. His kingdom will stand forever. And on the third day, all that is tied in with this. So there's going to be a picture there of after. Yeah. So we haven't dissected that, but just keep in mind, this is 1 Kings. This is way later. This is going to be showing you a picture of how God is working with Israel and all that. That's why these words are in here: third day and oath to the Lord and all these understandings and even these names and where they're going. I mean, he's going to Gentiles, Gath, to get and return back. So anyway,
What did you say that?
1 Kings 2:36-46. All right, verse 12. "But if it is stolen from him, he shall make restitution to its owner." This really, I think, should be translated, "But if stealing it was stolen from him, and peace to its master."
Well, the owner's got to prove that it was stolen.
Okay.
You know, a thought just kind of came into my head. You know, there is the Jubilee year, which is when the property goes back to its original owner. Is there something of that reflected in here? That the Jews and the Gentiles, or people that are God's people, will be reclaimed by him?
They're supposed to be every 50th year restored back, and Satan is keeping them from doing that? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That the original property, which is man, will go back to God.
Okay.
I'm wondering if that's something reflected in here. Because it's talking about the ox, the donkey, and the sheep.
That's interesting. Satan did steal man from God, didn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's possible.
And like you
Interesting.
said, maybe even the Jewish race, the Jewish God's people will be reclaimed.
Okay, well, this kind of reminds me of a verse, and I do have a PowerPoint for this one. It's in Genesis 31, 38, and 39. This is talking about Jacob when he's keeping Laban's sheep. And these 20 years I've been with you, your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, and I have not eaten the rams of your flocks. What was torn by wild beasts, I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it myself. From my hand you required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Jacob is a picture of Christ, walking out, his life. And then here he's saying something like that. Well, look at the next verse in 13. If it is torn by beasts, let him bring it as evidence. He shall not make restitution for what has been torn by a beast. But here Jacob said, if it was torn by wild beasts, I bore the loss. And by law later, when this is given, he didn't have to. Jacob is a picture of Christ.
When Joseph was told, when his brothers told his father they're wild animal, they brought the jacket, the coat to his father, which shows that something did happen to his son.
Yes. Yes.
He brought the jacket to show that he wasn't there no more. They didn't say they sold him, but
Bob, that's probably going to be tied in here somehow, because that's what they did. They gave a false statement to their father about the cloak being torn, and Joseph isn't with us no longer, but really he was. But they sold him to the Gentiles, and we're kind of living in that time right now.
he took what was left, the remains, to show something did happen to the party. If he didn't take something back to him, he could have sold it and made a profit off of it, and still said that it was still got by a wild animal.
Okay.
But by showing that the remains to his father.
Okay. And that's kind of what's going on here and what they did, didn't they? They made money on selling him and said he wasn't no more. Wow. So they made a profit on Joseph and claimed that it wasn't his fault, their fault. But Jacob is telling Laban, I'm the one that bore the loss of all your flocks, even though he didn't have to by law. And that's kind of what Christ did. He's the one that bore the loss, and he's the one that paid for it. So you kind of see how all this stuff's coming out. One of these days it's going to click with us what all God's trying to show us in each one of these little verses here. Okay, if a man borrows anything of his neighbor's and it's injured or dies, the owner shall not be in with it. He shall make full restitution. That's what you guys see here.
Well, it's not doubled.
Yeah,
And it's not-
why?
I think it's just done not intentionally. There wasn't any intent.
Okay. All right, so if someone lends you something, he's doing it by his own free will, isn't he? And grace that he wants to give you and lets you use this. He's not renting it to you. He's not making money on it. He's not trying to increase himself. He's just lending it to you. This could be his livelihood. I mean, he could be making money off whatever he's lending, his donkey or ox or chainsaw or whatever he's lending. Okay, there's going to be wear and tear put on that item. If it breaks, he can't now go out and cut firewood for himself to heat his family's house. If it breaks, he's lending it to you as a free will gesture. Okay, so if it breaks while you have it and he's not there, what's the right thing to do?
Replace it.
Replace it. Restore him back to where he was. If it gets damaged, you need to make the guy whole. He's letting you borrow it for free. And recently I've had people loan me tools. I was going to rent one and probably have to rent it for 2 days, but I had a friend of mine say, hey, I got one of these, it'll work better. You want to just borrow it since you're not going to be using it very much? I said, yeah. Well, I was allowed to use it for weeks, even though I probably only used it maybe 15 times. Didn't even use a full tank of gas. And I would have had to pay probably $100 for 2 days to rent this thing and had to be crunched to get the thing back so I didn't get charged another day. So I gave him $100 because I put wear and tear on his machine. He said, no, I loaned it to you. I said, no. I used this. It's going to eventually have to have another blade or something later. So put this towards that, And if that would have broke on my watch, I would have bought him another one and just chalked it up as, it's just the way it goes. So this is obviously showing God somehow. If a man borrows anything from his neighbor and it's injured or dies, the owner not being with it, he shall make full restitution. So if the owner isn't with it, the guy's going to have to repay the full price if it breaks. If the owner was not with it, verse 15, he shall not make restitution. If it was hired, it came for its hiring fee. So if the owner was with it, he doesn't have to repay. Why is that?
Because the owner knew that the man was not responsible at the time.
Yeah, he didn't misuse it.
And if the owner wasn't there, then he could say the guy abused it and didn't take care of it.
Right. But if he was there, he can see that he didn't misuse it, right? Okay, it was just worn out, old age. Okay. If it was hired, it came with a hiring fee. If you rent this, you're making money on it. That's part of business. Okay, you include all of that in your price. Okay, this guy is making money on him renting. He's not loaning. He's making income and everything on it. So that's part of the process. How does that equate spiritually? I don't know. If the owner was with it, he shall not make restitution. If it was hired, it came with its hiring fee. I don't know what that one's pointing to. Sorry. Okay, we're going to close here. That was a good place to stop. We'll pick up next week where we left off. Do some studies and see if you guys can find out where these are going. Some of these coming up, I think you guys are going to be able to see pretty easy where they're going. Okay. Anybody like closing prayer?